it's a disgusting thing where it's the fringes, the far left and the far right are treating Ukraine like a proxy war. And because they hate the United States because of Iraq and Afghanistan and obviously our pro, our relationship with Saudi Arabia and all the atrocities committed by Saudi Arabia and Yemen and so forth, it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend policy that plagues the far left. They see Russia, they buy into Putin as breaking the power of the United States of being like the top cop in the world and trying to get rid of like the major superpower and be a counter to it. So they basically are using Putin to try to combat the United States, and they see Ukraine as just a pawn. And they take away Ukraine's own agency. They don't see Ukrainians as humans. They see them just as a pawn. And that ideology is what's clearly plaguing Amnesty. So this Donatella Rivera person, yeah, she should absolutely be investigated for any offshore bank accounts in Cyprus. But at the same time, it's just this far left destructive mentality where they refuse to see Ukrainians as human beings. And they just hate the US so much that they want to take it out on Ukraine.
The mechanisms of leverage that any population has and that we traditionally have had in America to fight back on this, namely voting, but also protests, civil disobedience, freedom of assembly, so on and so forth, they've diminished. We'll vote, and they'll just say, who cares? That's what happened to us in Missouri. And honestly, I'm watching to see what will happen in Kansas. I hope that they get the rights that they voted for. And I worry about this on a federal level as well. I'm very, very worried about the 2022 midterm election. I'm somewhat worried that the Democrats won't actually win, legitimately will lose, but I'm also worried that they will win. And the tactics that we saw used in 2020, where people are just flat out refusing to accept the results, there's endless pressure on state legislatures to not accept the results, will be used even more and with much more violence. 2020 was marked by threats of violence more than actual acts of violence. I am worried about acts of violence. And so that's all very scary situation. Again, it's one that needed to be handled much earlier. One of the ways around this, for example, was, instituting federal voting by mail, or at least making that easier for everybody so they could avoid situations like going to a polling place that's either too dangerous to go to, or that may be far away from them. And instead, you see Biden keeping Louis DeJoy, not protecting voting rights, all of these really fundamental things. And that makes me worry, why was this not a priority? And I don't want to hear about Manchin and Sinema, or they didn't have the votes, because even rhetorically, it has not been a priority for them for a very long time. And it's the most fundamental, basic right from which other rights derive. It's nothing to take lightly or to just say, oh, we lost on that one. We lost on the whole voting rights thing. I mean, that's a chilling way to behave.